there's some things that successful eBay sellers are doing that you're probably not if you're struggling with your sales. So I'm going to talk about that on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is John from Flippin' Ain't Easy, and in today's video I want to tell you about something that I'm really excited to bring to you. It is one of those things that some of this information I didn't really even consider before I did the research, and I'm excited to bring it to you because there's a lot of us out there that are dealing with slow sales right now, and I really think that this information is going to be beneficial. Even if it's just one thing that you didn't know about, maybe that it causes you to do something different. Again, we're trying to find ways, and I'm constantly looking for ways to find information that's going to improve my sales and in turn improve your sales. Now, this information that I came across was actually from an eBay website. Now, I'll put the information down below so you can also check it out if you want. So the information that I came across is about 10 months old, but it is from eBay. It's the most relevant information I can find, and it actually was an eye-opener for me. And I thought I knew quite a bit about listings and all the things, the inner workings of eBay. And that's why we talk about how nobody has the answer to how eBay really works. I mean, I guess if you are one of the designers of the algorithm, you might have all this information, but if not, then you're like me and you're trying to figure it out and trying to find the best practices for the type of item that you're selling. What works for me may not work entirely for you. That's the complexity of this algorithm that eBay has given us to work with. So here's the thing. There's not one component that will give you an advantage over another seller. Okay, if you promote the heck out of your listing, I tried that. You can check out the video. I'll put a link up there. I try to do 100% promoted listings on 3 different items. Of course, within 48 hours I didn't sell a single one, and none of the items really ranked as high as I thought that they would, and I was very surprised. And that told me that while certain things are important, like your promoted listings, your title, your photo, we talk about all those things, it's all a collective effort that you put into your listings that will determine the success, the number of views you get, and of course, once someone gets into your listing, it's all the other components, the price, the quality photos or the number of photos, to meet the buyer's expectations to grab them and actually continue with the actual sale, or versus them clicking off your listing. So according to eBay, there's 3 main components, and that is trust, value, and relevance. Now, trust is simply that. Your account standing, your feedback plays a role in that, the number of defects you have in your account, okay? Things that are well within your control, basically your behavior as a seller. All that's tracked, right? Your late shipping times. All the different things that you do as a seller is tracked by eBay and plays a role in that ranking. Now, you have the value component, and that is, are you competitive with your pricing? In my opinion, they didn't come out and say any of this, but in my opinion, I'm a firm believer of markdown sales and coupons. Are you utilizing all the tools to your disposal that will allow the buyer to receive the best value? And the last part of it, which is relevance, and that's where eBay really wanted to focus on in this video. So it kind of tells me, based on that, that the relevance part versus the other two is the one that's a little bit more weighted, and I think that's because there's a lot more to it, and it really goes into how your listing is made up. Now, first of all, your buyer, when they're looking for your item, they encounter what is called an SEO. That is the search engine optimization. So if your listing is optimized properly, you're going to have a better chance to appear in the buyer's overall best match search than if it wasn't optimized, right? And in some cases, according to eBay, if your item isn't optimized properly, and there's a few things that can cause it to not be optimized properly, and that's, I think, falls under what a lot of people weren't really aware of, and that is having a complete description. Your listing may not even be seen by buyers at all. Now, something to consider what eBay mentioned: what worked a year ago, what worked 2 years ago for you, may no longer work, because they're constantly tweaking this SEO, which is the algorithm. They're tweaking it, right? So that different things that they're developing or different customer behaviors are considered when they're developing this SEO. So don't just say, okay, I think I've mastered it now. You should always be looking to try to improve your listings and stay with the updates that come along. So if eBay, they've been launching a lot of promoted listing campaigns and different things with promoted listings. I got to tell you guys, there's a lot of you that are still not on the promoted listing train. Even at the basic promoted listings standard, you may not want to deal with the advanced or the express or all that other stuff that they're doing, but got to be at least on the promoted listings standard, and that's for most listings. Now there's some listings, I'm talking about listings that have no competition. You have a one-of-a-kind item, maybe you're limited to under 15 competitive listings, then maybe you should consider not even messing with that. Now here's what I've encountered a lot personally, and that is category. It's one of the things that eBay wants you to consider. Many times I'm finding a sell similar listing, and that listing looks fine to me, and it turns out 30 days later when I'm revising the listing because it hasn't sold, that the item wasn't even listed in the right category. And when you do that, see, eBay, the reason why a category is very important, the proper category, is because they develop certain item specifics for that item based on that category. And if you're answering to the wrong questions, to the wrong category, then your item is not even going to be listed when the buyer is filtering through to find your item, because it's just in the wrong category. Also, you want to avoid, if you really don't know what category to use, try to avoid at all costs using the other category. A lot of times you can try to find and whittle down to the right particular category only to end up using the other category for that particular item. And the problem with that is that your exposure is going to be very limited to certain search results, and it's not going to capture all the buyer search results if you just use that particular other category. Look at other sold listings for the type of item you're selling. Find out what category those items sold in if you're not sure, and use that. Now here's something we talk about a lot on this program, and that is the importance of your titles. And eBay did give an example, quite a few, and here's an example of what I'm talking about. Now, number one is you talk about how it's appropriate to use the brand. When eBay says brand, we're not talking about the third-party Chinese brand. We're not talking about an unknown brand that no one wants to even have in their house, let alone even know that they exist. We're talking about known brands. So if you have an item, if it is a known brand, a brand that you think maybe yourself as a buyer would type in to find your item, then use that brand. If it's a brand that no one's ever heard of, no buyer is going to use that in search. They're going to maybe use a different, more known brand, maybe, but they're certainly not going to use that one. So avoid using it at all. Now, the reason why the first 5 words, I've usually said the first 5 words, some people say the first 6 words, is the most important in your title, because eBay gives you 80 characters, quite a bit, to develop a functional title, is because some of the external searches, like Google Search, Google Shopping, only is limited to 55 characters. And if you're putting a lot of relevant information that bleeds over that 55 character limit, then it's going to exclude your item from any relevant Google Shopping searches. And for me, that's like 15% of my traffic. So I'm trying to keep my listings Google Shopping friendly, or really, and eBay doesn't talk about any other external searches, at least I'm not aware of them. I don't want to be excluded from those either. Now here's something I didn't know. First of all, you're using all caps. It's like yelling at someone. Don't do it, okay? Also, special characters like exclamation points, quotations, asterisks, things that you think are going to make your listing stand out. Those things, even the caps, will hurt your listing in the search results. eBay has it coded in the algorithm, according to eBay, that those items, you still sell them, I guess, but they're not going to be visible, as visible, if you presented your title without those things. And I've said this before, avoid unnecessary descriptive words. You don't need new. You've already told eBay if it's new, open boxed, used, whatever it is. Okay, you don't need to say it in the title. That's just a waste of your title. Beautiful, vintage, NWT, newer tags is really just a waste of space, and I only reserve that for if I have nothing left to say within the 80 characters, and I'll maybe slap that in at the end. But it's really not a useful component for your title. And if all else fails and you're still struggling to find a title, a real good title for your item, well, the tried and true method is go check out the sold comps on eBay, check to see what items have sold and what titles that were used most often, and look to see what patterns that are in those titles. Maybe take those keywords and start putting them into your title. Okay, it doesn't have to read as a sentence, but it has to be front loaded with the most key and relevant words that a buyer is going to use. After all, if you're using the solds to determine what your title is going to be, they did sell, right? Those listings did sell somehow. So that to me would be a last resort if I had no way to determine what I wanted to use for a title. Maybe I'm still not quite sure what I want to do. Go check the solds and they'll give you an idea of what's been successful for that item. So let's move on to item specifics. Now I could tell you, item specifics is not my favorite thing. I've struggled with item specifics for a long time, made many videos about it, and I know that a lot of you have really been up in arms about item specifics, okay? But there is an importance for it. eBay has placed an importance for it. Their search engine relies on it, and if you want to be successful on this platform, then you need to actually play the game and embrace the idea that item specifics are here to stay, and if you want to sell your items, you need to get with it and make sure your listings are up to speed. When it comes to item specifics, eBay claims that 80%, and I think that's kind of high because I think there's a lot of sellers that use item specific filters like solds, right, to investigate a particular item, to see the comps on a particular item. And because of that, I think it's really probably closer to 50 to 60%. But who am I to know? I'm just telling you what I think. But eBay says that 80% of potential shoppers utilize the filters that go down the left side whenever they do a best match search. Now again, we're not talking about the buyers that are using that lowest price search, right? You have an element of buyers who will use that and it'll bypass the best match all day long, and then your pricing is the first thing that they're considering. But we're not talking about that. All these examples are talking about best match search results, and eBay claims that 80% of your buyers are filtering these results. So they're not just sticking with the first set of results that they get, they're actually clicking on one or more filters down the left hand side. Now here's something I didn't know. When you're selecting a value in your listing for an item specific, right, it'll tell you the amount of searches for that particular value for that type of item. And I think that's pretty important, because you may have some item specifics that you don't have an idea of what the value is, and it's more important if you have one that's, say, been searched for 16 million times versus one that's been searched for 10,000 times. You might want to spend a little extra time researching exactly what your buyer is going to select for that item you're selling for that particular item specific. It may make a difference of your item being seen in the buyer search after they've filtered it or not at all. Remember, if a buyer is filtering out search results and you have nothing or NA or does not apply in that box, because eBay doesn't offer that value, okay, your item will not show up once they've filtered beyond that. And if you have nothing there, your item won't be listed. Now let's jump over to photos. Photos are very important. Now, I've talked to you guys about this all the time. Again, if you want your item to be visible on Google shopping searches, you need to have that background removal, have that clear white background. I don't care what a lot of the bigger channels tell you. They're killing it for a number of reasons, and it ain't because of their pictures, I tell you that, if they're not using a background removal tool. Why would you turn your nose up to 15% additional traffic to your item, all because you refuse to use a background removal tool? At the very least, eBay gives you one for free. You might as well use it. That's what they're asking you to do. Now, another thing, eBay in this video that I watched said they want you to use at least 4, up to 12, as many as you can, up to 12 photos. Use different angles to show your item. Zoom is important. Use your camera. Zoom in on key features of the item and or key issues that you've put in the description, but also zoom in on key issues. If there's a blem, you know what? You need to be honest and you need to be upfront. You need to be transparent. And by zooming into things like that, measurements, that's another thing. If you're dealing with clothing or an item that requires good measurements, take the time to include those in your listings as well. Now let me tell you guys something. It's not difficult at all to make stock quality photos using a background removal tool, but by taking good photos and crisp photos, and you can see, the difference here between a good photo and one that's lacking. I can tell you a buyer is going to click on a more professional looking photo than they will one that's not very professional at all. Now here's another component that I think a lot of us sort of miss. I see a lot of listings where they allow eBay to default with just the title when it comes to their description, and or they put just basic information, maybe a one-liner in the description. And eBay has even said they want you to provide a complete listing. And they also mention a description as being one of those components of a complete description. And one thing I like to do, use bold, use bullets, and even different font sizes. I use all 3 of those things. And like for instance, bold, I will, when I'm doing my bullets, I'll take the bullets, the features of a particular item, and a lot of times the first few words, or maybe in the first sentence of that particular bullet, if it's a long one, I will put in bold. And it's one of those TMI, DNR, don't know if you know what that means, but that is too much information did not read, okay? So if you have a long description, a lot of features of the item, by putting in bold the key features of that item, and that will stick out to a buyer. It's easy to read, and they're more apt to read your description than to simply avoid it. Bullets look professional, and different font sizes make your description easier to navigate. Now, one thing you want to avoid, okay, you want to put the condition, certainly. I like to put the title in there too at the top. But I put the description and I put key features of the item. Putting your policies or different things that don't pertain to the item that the customer needs to know are not important parts of the description and actually can hurt the quality of your description. Now, eBay considers this information when ranking your listing, okay, and a description is very important when it comes to this. I think a lot of people don't give the item description enough love or credit when they're building their listing, and that's a huge mistake. There's 2 ways to sell on eBay. Of course, we know fixed price or auctions. Now, eBay says 90% of the 1.7 billion items that are up for sale on eBay, 90% are fixed price listings. The presenter stated, you may want to diversify your listings and use auction listings as well. Now, what did I tell you in previous videos? Auctions were working for me, right? I'm starting to launch auctions pretty much every day. I'm going to come out with another video. I have a strategy I'm going to utilize that I want to share with you. I'm not going to talk about it on this video. It's been long enough on this video already, so I won't go there. But stay tuned for that. But auctions are more important than we thought, and you need to start utilizing them 90 to 10 ratio, maybe not 10%, maybe 5%, maybe 1 or 2%, but you need to start utilizing auctions more than you may have. If you're just all on fixed price, that might be holding you back. Last thing they touched on was the additional things that you should be doing with your listings. Allow offers, offer free shipping, and I say on small items, okay? Offer free returns. Again, my deal is small items because I ain't trying to pay for shipping on large items, and I'm certainly not trying to pay for shipping on large items for them to return it back to me. Price competitively, share listings on social media. That's why a lot of people with large followings, and I'm over 13,000 people, and I'm starting to find that you great people are buying items from my store. If you have a social media following, maybe you have a big social media following on Instagram or Facebook, share your listings on those platforms to get people looking at your store. So guys, it was a long video and I apologize, but I think this is really important information. We're all trying to optimize our listings for Q4 because for most of you, summer is coming to an end. For me, it's going to be here for a while. And we need any idea or anything that we haven't tried to optimize our listings so we can be more competitive. And I want your comments down below. Let me know what you think about the stuff that I read to you. I think there's a lot of truth to it. Of course, eBay's coming out and saying, here's what we think about these things. I mean, if eBay's telling us this is what we want from you as a seller, I think it'd be foolish to avoid that and to ignore it and just to think the way I've been doing it for the last 5 years has worked, so I'm not going to change. You got to be flexible and you got to be willing to make that change, especially when eBay's telling you that you should. So guys, do me a favor. If you appreciate the time that I've taken to put this content together for you, hit that like button. While you're at it, subscribe to the channel, and of course hit that notification bell so when I go live, when I'll probably do that on Friday, you're going to be notified. And guys, look, I'm always bringing ideas and information to you, and a lot of times I just bring you what I think, and you know what I think is just based on my limited testing and experience, which doesn't even add up anywhere near to your experience as a collective whole, as the audience. But when eBay comes to us and says, here's exactly what we're looking for in a listing, you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it because they're setting the rules. It's their game, like I've said before. And if we want to be successful, we have to play by their rules, try to read into what they're asking us to do, and follow those steps, follow those guidelines. And that's kind of what this video is. It's more about what eBay wants us to do than what I want you to do. And these are things I'm going to be implementing. I already have implemented a lot of these things, but some of these things I haven't been, and I'm going to be implementing them soon as tomorrow. Making changes and being flexible and being willing to do different things and to be successful on eBay, it's just yet another example of how flipping ain't easy. And I want you guys to have an excellent remainder of your week. Get out there, make these changes, and we will talk to you very soon.